Welcome to the One Life podcast, guys. I got Chris Cavallini, my first ever guest. And man, thank you to my business partner, Tyler, for introducing me to him. This guy is absolutely amazing. And he is a 5 times Forbes featured entrepreneur of the year, CEO of Nutrition Solutions, a U.S. Navy vet, and he fucking speaks the truth. He came from nothing, was facing jail time. You used to be a drug dealer. Now he owns a company with over 50 employees called Nutrition Solutions. And this guy is an absolute beast. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode. So please welcome Chris Cavallini. And before I do that, I want you guys to make sure that you follow him on Instagram. His name is Chris Cavallini, spelled ChrisCavallini. Please go follow him and let's get this fucking show started, man. Thank you so much for being here.
I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for coming. This is going to be epic because you are my first guest and no better guest to have than you.
Right on.
So thanks for taking the time. And I did a little bit of research about you too before this. Tyler told me some things, and obviously learning from you last night, getting to know you better, we had some great conversations. So I wish we were mic'd up last night because some of the shit, when we get into that flow of that deep conversation, I think it really will help benefit people, especially your story on starting Nutrition Solutions. Mm-hmm. So a little background about Chris is he started Nutrition Solutions about 6 years ago now, right?
Yeah, about 7 years ago.
7 years ago. And he started off, he had a rough get going, I guess you could call that, from going into, selling drugs, right? Going down the wrong path and then unlocking whatever you did. I want people to know, how did you unlock the mindset? How did you get to where you are today? What was the shift that happened 7 years ago?
Yeah, so it definitely wasn't one thing. It wasn't 10 things. And it still is an ongoing campaign, and it always will be. I got to a point in my life where, as you said, I was selling drugs for a long time. Got to a point in my life where I just became disgusted with myself, became disgusted with, my life, became basically overwhelmed with anxiety and the fear of what my life would look like if I didn't make any changes. And I realized that, I needed to make some adjustments. I felt that I was put on this planet to do something on a higher level. I just really had absolutely no idea what that was. So the thing that I got started with as far as beginning to get my shit together is I started investing a lot of time into personal development. I started watching, again, this was 2000, 2009, 2010. At the time, podcasts weren't like a thing, and there wasn't the abundance of resources that are available now, like on social media and what have you. But I started watching all of Tony Robbins' YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I literally watched every second of content that he had on YouTube at the time, multiple times.
Yeah, similar to a little bit what I was saying,
Yeah.
Delivery driver job, was listening to Tony Robbins, had, tried to figure out how to break through.
Yeah. And just, studying his ideologies and just absorbing the things that he was saying, one of the practical action steps I, took action on was, one of the things he always talks about and still to this day is if, you want to be successful in something, find someone who's already successful at that thing and just model what they're doing. So, I looked at him like, well, this guy's extremely successful. I want to be like him. I want to do what he did. And one of the things that he did and talked about was, giving back. And, even when he had nothing, he still found a way to give back. And that became something that was very important to him. So I started going out in the community, going to different churches, different organizations, and basically feeding the homeless, just serving, just doing what I could. And honestly, I went there for very selfish reasons. I went there to better myself. It was probably 5 minutes into it that I realized, I felt something I never felt before. I felt overcome with this gratitude and just pride and a sense of purpose. And, to that point in my life, I don't think I'd ever felt that before. And I realized at that point that I needed to commit to doing something to serve people on a higher level and to help people. And again, I had absolutely no idea what that was going to be, but I wanted to do something with my life where I could experience those feelings all the time. So that was essentially one of the, practical action steps I took to start beginning to find those answers that I was searching for. And since then, it's been just an ongoing fight of resiliency and just taking action to do things to just be better, to improve on my quality of life personally and professionally, and do whatever I could to set myself up, set my surroundings up for success.
Actually, if everybody's listening to what he just said, is that one thing, it shows what kind of person that you are. What you said, you were giving, and you were giving when you had nothing, and you were giving your time, right? And now I assume that kind of led you to start a company where you could help employ people, help feed people's family. Like when you walk in now, I think your company's got, you said, close to 50 employees now.
Yes.
And you started 7 years ago. Like, if you were to go back 7 years ago and be like, yo, and look at today, like where you are now, like what would you have told yourself? Like, could you ever imagine, like, yo, I would be running a company with 50 people, like,
I mean, when I started the company, I mean, it was literally just an opportunity that kind of presented itself, and I was looking for an out, man. I was looking for anything. I have no background in culinary. I mean, we're a healthy lifestyle meal preparation company. Okay, we prepare customized meals for people looking to lose weight, build muscle, or just overall be healthier. I don't have a background in culinary. I'm definitely not like super passionate about food, but I do believe that the quality of our lives is heavily dictated by the quality of the food we put in our mouths, and that's something that I felt there was a void in. I mean, currently in this country, 3/4 of the adult population are categorized either overweight or obese. The obesity epidemic is completely out of control. 190 billion currently is being spent treating obesity related illness, and the sad part of that, aside from the fact that 70% of those diseases are preventable, is the fact that we're doing it to ourselves. We're doing it to ourselves with the choices that we're making on a daily basis as it pertains to the foods we're putting in our mouth. And it's sad. It's sad because it's becoming the norm. It's starting to become accepted. People look around, everybody else around them is like overweight and just, unhealthy. And it's just like, oh, well, who gives a shit? So I decided with this company to not only provide the tools and resources for people to to get in better shape and improve on their confidence and overall quality of life, but to put a lot of energy, invest a lot of energy into doing what we could to hold them accountable to the goals that we set together when our clients start with the company. So there's a lot of different companies out there now. They're doing what we're doing, and to a certain extent, as far as providing people meals and meal prep, whatever. There are not very many out there that I'm aware of that actually have the element in place that I'm talking about. I mean, we have all of our customer service reps are National Academy of Sports Medicine certified weight loss specialist and fitness and nutrition specialist. So they are there to essentially help our clients stay on the path, hold them accountable. If a client is taking a couple weeks off consecutively, they'll reach out and be like, hey, just checking on you, just letting you know we're thinking about you. Everything okay? Like the reality of it is consistency is the thing that most people are missing with basically everything. I mean, all the things that we look to improve on, if we're not getting those results, it 99.7% of the time will come down to a lack of consistency. So we focus a lot of energy, manpower, and resources to helping our clients stay on track with their goals, with this lifestyle, and basically help them speed up the process as far as getting them where they want to be as far as their goals are concerned.
And that's amazing. Like, bro, what you're truly doing and how you did it. And I remember last night you saying something, and I want you to give people the story or like the account behind it, which I thought was awesome. I was telling Tyler about it. Was when you said, when you started, that you used a catering company to get the meals. Like I just want people to understand that aspect, because most people are like, oh, I need to have the production facility. Oh, I need to have this. Like, if you would have thought that way, you wouldn't even be where you're at now, because you just were like winging it. I want people to understand that.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I'm glad that you brought that up. I think a lot of people get caught up. I mean, right now, where we're doing this podcast, I mean, this is a beautiful workspace, right? It's like everything's like super modern, awesome graphics on the wall. I mean, I can't even imagine tens of thousands, about hundreds of $1,000s worth of computer equipment. I think people, when they're looking to start a business or want to start a business, they think they have to have all that day one. And you will not have that day one. I mean, you probably won't have that, day 1,000. You have to start somewhere. And a lot of times I think people will kind of overwhelm and overthink themselves into not taking any sort of action. But when when I started this, I mean, I legitimately didn't have any money. I didn't have any. I don't have a college education. I don't have any previous business experience. I basically went to a catering company who was already in business, right? So they have the facility, they have the staff, they have the overhead. And I went to them and I said, I need X amount of meals. I can pay you, X for those meals. And then I would in turn flip those meals for Y to about 10 people that I knew that were like friends of mine. And that's how I started. I mean, and again, there wasn't this huge vision for turning the company into what it is now. It was just I wanted to get something going. I wanted to get something going, and it was extremely humble beginnings because, as I said, we didn't have a facility. So in the beginning, I remember in the early days, we would essentially load up a hatchback. There was like a hatchback, almost like a station wagon type vehicle that a friend of mine owned, and we would basically go to the catering company, load the meals up in the back of that, lay ice blankets on top of it. We're talking in Florida now, so it's hot always. And we had strategically picked out a parking lot in Jacksonville, Florida, where the company started. That was strategically located, like kind of like a median point to the 9 or 10 people that we had at the time. That was centrally located, everybody. When literally we drove the station wagon to this parking lot, and people would meet us during like a half hour time frame, and we would literally like pull their bag of food out of the hatchback, hand it to them, they'd be on their way. I mean, that's how it started. And again, like at that time, it wasn't like, oh, I'm doing what I have to do, whatever. It's that's what it was. I mean, there were no other options, so that's what I did for. I mean, as long as I had to do it, and until I realized as my level of thinking started to evolve, it's like, holy shit, this is kind of ghetto. Like we gotta look into this and make some changes. But I mean, you have to start somewhere, and honestly, you can't wait till things are perfect. You can't even necessarily wait till things are good. You just got to get it going. And, if you're committed, if you're disciplined, if you're really, focused on what it is that you want, I mean, you're going to figure shit out. That's just the way it works. But the way you figure shit out is by doing shit. And a lot of times you got to do shit the wrong way in order to figure out how to do it the right way.
Yeah. And what was also fascinating to me was you never had outside funding. You never got a loan from a bank, you said. You literally like bootstrapped this thing for like the longest time. What else were you doing while you were bootstrapping? Like 9 or 10 clients, but then you had, what else were you doing? Were you working? What were you doing there?
Yeah. So I mean, to be perfectly honest, when I started the company in 2011, I was still at the tail end of my drug dealing days. So there was still a little bit of that going on. I mean, it wasn't like a clean, smooth transition where like, okay, put that life behind me on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, I'm a legitimate businessman. So I was still doing a little bit of that to pay my bills. That went on for I would say about a year or so during the beginning stages of my company, and then I was filtering it out, and then eventually I walked away for good. And I've been doing this 7 years. I didn't really start making money until 2 years ago. Or I was making money, I didn't seem to know how to hold on to it. At the end of like a quarter, at the end of a month, they would show me, a profit and loss statement, and it would say like this figure of money that was made in profit. And I'm just like, well, where the fuck is it? And like honestly, and it legitimately wasn't until 2 years ago was I able to start, stacking money and making money and making shit happen. So it took 5 years to get to a point where I caught my stride. And honestly, I don't even think that's a fair, because today I'm still trying to figure it out. I wake up every day and I full on accept, embrace, and basically just ask myself, like, okay, well, to this day, is there a possibility that what you've done to this point is not the best thing or the best strategy. And I literally wake up every single day, and that's the mentality I have. And I'm just constantly looking for areas to improve. I mean, down to the smallest of details, because oftentimes, those small details are essentially what's needed to kind of, set a firm foundation and allow you to improve and scale on a larger level. I mean, if you can't even get the small stuff right, if you can't even take pride in the small details, I mean, a lot of times that's going to reflect on every other component of the operation on a higher level.
Yeah, for sure. And to go on a little bit of a different path here in this conversation, I really want to know. You mentioned some things last night, like who one of your mentors was and how he kind of helped you, and like you fucking like, nah, I don't want to listen to you, and then you kind of look back now and you're like, shit, everything he said was right.
Well, it wasn't looking back now. It was looking back, usually shortly after he had given me the advice.
And so I also want to know, like, in your personal life, like who was the one that like pushed you, like, because we all need some fuel sometimes, like you can't do everything on your own. When you do, you get burnt out and you're fucking like, exhausted, and you fall into those states of the ups and downs, and we all have those. So what did you do, like, whether if it was mindset wise, whether if it was a friend or a family member helping you, what happened, like when you went down, or like when you're trying to start things, or when shit wasn't good in life? Like I want to know, like, what happened during that stage.
Yeah, so I mean, there's been no shortages of times, over the last 7 years where I've encountered crisis and hit very, very low points. I think a lot of people are always looking for that person or that thing to motivate them, that thing that, that whatever is just gonna, I don't know, say some words, and all of a sudden you're gonna know what to do. You're gonna feel like doing the shit that you already know. You already know what to do.
Yeah,
you already know what to do. The reality of it is, most people just get so set on focusing on the way they feel that they don't do anything, because more often than not, we are not going to feel like doing the things that we need to do to move our lives forward, because those things are all very fucking difficult.
Yeah, like the secret sauce is there is no secret sauce. You know what I'm saying?
You just gotta go. And honestly, when you do that enough times and you see like what happens when you get up and you do the shit that you're supposed to do, the shit that you've said you're going to do, the things that you have committed and set goals to do. When you get up and you do it on those days that you don't feel like it, a lot of things happen. Not only do you accomplish, said task or move closer to your goal, but there's a huge opportunity that you have just taken advantage of to step up your level of discipline and mental toughness. And honestly, like, whether you're an entrepreneur or someone who has the entrepreneur mindset working in a company, which is the only way you win at the highest level within a company. And by the entrepreneur mindset, I mean taking ownership within your organization, whether your name is on the paperwork or not, and treating it like it's your own. I mean, that's the only way to advance and to continue advancing, continue creating new opportunities. Like you just gotta understand, like, there's gonna be more days that you don't feel like doing it than days that you do. At the end of the day, like in life, there are winners and losers. 35 years I've been on this planet. The only difference I can really tell from a very general, broad spectrum is winners get up and do the shit they need to do, the shit that they're supposed to do, even and especially on the days they don't fucking feel like it.
Yeah. And so in your personal life, like, what was the one thing that, like, when it happened, you're like, wow, I can't believe this is happening? Like, where you're like almost gonna quit? Like, where was like that time? Like, I'm sure there's a bunch.
Yeah, but I'll give you one.
Yeah, I'm sure you have one of those stories which sticks with you.
So, as I said, I started the company in 2011. I fully transitioned out of selling drugs, my past life, in 2012. Fast forward 3 years to 2015. Fast forward 3 years from that time and rewind 3 years from where we're at, right now. I'm at a pretty good point with my business. I mean, relative, right? Like, nowhere near where we're at now, but pretty good, considering, where I started at that point, 2015. Was just, I remember it was a normal, Tuesday or Wednesday. I was running around, just hustling, just getting out there, getting in front of people, meeting new people. And I remember having a really, really good day. I was feeling really good about what was happening. And again, it was just one of those days where, like, I had good vibes, putting out.
Go wrong. This is good.
Yeah, totally. And I get home that day, and I get to, the building I live in, downtown Tampa, walk in the front door. I go to check my mail. There are these two guys sitting on the bench that's, in the hallway in my building. I was like, "Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?" I've never seen them before, but I like to greet strangers and smile at people and just do whatever I can to be a good human being. And they were like, "Hey," and they both stood up, which I thought was a little weird. Kind of took me back, and I doubled back and looked at them, and they started advancing towards me, and they said, "Chris?" I said, "Yeah." I kind of backed up a little bit because just the way that they were approaching me, and they reached into their shirts, top of the shirts, and pulled out badges. And Tampa Police Department, we're here to serve a warrant. You're under arrest. So basically, what had happened is 3 years prior, I was set up. I was set up by a friend of mine at the time that I sold, some stuff to, and for one reason or another, the DEA and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, where I'd committed those crimes, decided to wait 3 years to come and take me to jail. Yeah, so that right there was, so again, I sold drugs for 6, 7 years, whatever it was. So I don't want to, I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence here that might be listening and lead them to think that those 2 times that the kids set me up were the only times I'd ever committed the crime. Like, this was a lifestyle for me. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of times, I sold things. I just happened to get caught twice. Yeah. But I had, in fact, transitioned out of that life. It had been 3 years since I had.
Yeah, so the confusion was probably what?
Well, so, and not only that, it wasn't just the fact that I had stopped, living, stopped committing crimes, for a living, but I'd also made some significant changes in my life, personally and professionally. I was very active in the community at this time. I had a lot of ties with different groups that we, work with, whether it was to, to feed the homeless. I had some ties with the Wounded Warrior, the Wounded Warrior Project, where I mentored some vets, got them. I would take them to the gym with me and train them, and just kind of help them have an outlet to, work on the certain issues that they had.
Transition back to the TAR, the PTSD,
yeah.
civilian life.
So I was doing a lot of things and had developed a pretty good reputation, and things were going good for me. So, like, for this to just come up and have it be just so left field, I mean, it was devastating. And basically, I sat in jail for about a week. They wanted me to cooperate. Initially, they sat me down and they wanted me to basically set somebody up. And they said, all this would go away, and you have a lot to lose, and you have a business now, and you have employees, and all these things. And like, honestly, it didn't take me very long. I mean, maybe a minute within the conversation. I just said, "Guys, listen, I thank you for presenting that to me." Yeah. I said, "But the reality of it is, I cannot even fathom for 1 second thinking about destroying someone else's life because I'm not willing to be held accountable for my actions." I just couldn't imagine that. I was like, honestly, I would rather sit in a prison cell and be able to go to bed every night with a smile on my face than to have to live on the outside free with that feeling deep within. I was like, it's just not for me. And I was like, and so in the most respectful way possible, I tried to communicate that to them, and they don't like it when you don't cooperate. They don't like it when you don't do the things that they want you to do in that situation. Yeah. So my bail was $500,000 for steroid charges. I mean, there are people who kill people that have $500,000. I mean, $500,000 bail is essentially no bail. Yeah. Usually people can't afford. So it took me some time, but I was able to scrape together what I could to pay if you pay 10% of that, you're able to get out. You don't get that money back, but that was everything, man. So I basically,
You had a company to run, people to help, you had shit to do.
Yeah, and at the time I wasn't very disciplined with my money. I wasn't like saving the way that I should have been, or at all for that matter. Yeah. So that was literally everything. I mean, all the money I had went to bailing myself out in my legal defense. the firm offer they gave me was 2 years in prison, 24 months in prison. And just to give people perspective who've never been in trouble or don't understand the system or the process, when you're given a plea offer in the system, it's a lot like a business negotiation, right? You go in, the state, the prosecution side will give you an offer. That offer is normally high. Then your attorneys will counter with something, and you go back and forth. You meet like somewhere in the middle, right? In this situation, they weren't willing to negotiate. They put a firm 24-month prison sentence on the table, and that was a deal. As in, like, if I accepted that, we wouldn't have to go through a bunch of court dates and what have you. And there was there was a very real possibility that if I didn't take the deal and I was found guilty, which they had me dead to rights. I mean, I got the kid was wired. They had video. Like it was, I didn't have a compelling case. Totally. So like there was a very real possibility that if I did go, opt to go to trial, and if I was found guilty, that I could get a lot more years than the 2 years. But I decided to fight, man. I decided to that I wanted to at least try. I didn't want to just roll over. I mean, at that point, I had like maybe 11 or 12 employees that I knew were depending on me to take care of themselves, take care of their families. And although they weren't making a lot of money, that's what it was, and that's where they were at. And I had a responsibility to them, and I wanted to do everything I could to try and produce the most favorable outcome. The reality of it is, had I gone to prison, I don't think my business would have just survived a week at that time.
And then you would have started from nothing. You probably would have what?
It's so it's funny you say that. Like during that time, like I mentally got myself like to a point where I thought I was going to prison. So I accepted it. And honestly, I got myself to a point where I was kind of thinking like, you know what? You've been through a lot of shit. You'll go to prison for 2 years and you'll come out, and this will just be like part of the story, part of the comeback, like the makings for the most epic comeback. Dude, totally. But the part of that I couldn't like shake and couldn't like just get out of my head or get out of my heart was what would happen to the team that I had at that point. And that's why I kind of made the decision to go all in and fight and literally spend money I didn't have on a lawyer I couldn't afford, and do everything and anything I could to show the police prosecution, to show the judge that I wasn't that person anymore, that I had in fact made some changes and I didn't deserve to go to prison. Long story short, man, this was like a 3-4 month process from the time I was arrested to the time I had my sentencing hearing. And I will never forget when I don't remember if it was a call or a text from my attorney. And he basically said, okay, we have a date, like the date. There's a lot of dates, and you pay them, they have relationships, they like postpone them and they get moved. And then this was it. The date was on for my sentencing. And I remember I had less than 2 weeks. So I basically had to prepare my entire life, personally and professionally, in such a way that if I walked into the courtroom that day and went to prison, which is a strong possibility, that my affairs would be in order and somehow able to sustain, which I don't even remember like what I did. That period was like a very dark, totally. I kept my game face on the outside world. I did, like a lot of people outside of the box, a lot of people that weren't like really close to me, they didn't know what was going on. And like after the fact, when it all went public and everybody knew, they were like amazed with like how I was functional and the way that I was acting and the way that I was, I didn't,
Fighting for your life,
but I decided during that time to like do everything I could to just put out as much good energy as possible. So I stepped things up with my community involvement. I went and did a fitness competition during that time, which was crazy because I'd never won one before. I'd done like 2 or 3 at that point, and I actually won this competition. So I tried to do as much stuff to get as much good momentum, and maybe I was doing it to like forget about the fact of what was going on. Maybe I was doing it to, I don't know, maybe I was doing it to like, because I thought that they would be watching and this would produce some more, but regardless of what it was, like what people saw and what was really going on behind closed doors was like the total polar opposite. I mean, that was a very low point of my life.
Yeah.
I got, fucked up on Oxycontin there for a while. I was taking Xanax. It was just like my days were like I'd wake up, I would take a pill, then I would take another pill to come down from the pill. Then I'd take another pill later in the evening to go up from the pill I'd taken and honestly but I was functional on it. Like I was working, I was training, I was doing all the shit that I needed to do, but it was this wasn't good, man. And honestly, like I felt like just crushed. I felt like just everything that I worked for, everything, all the good things that, I had just started to kind of see with my life. I thought it was all just about to go away. And I knew that there's a lot of people that I probably disappointed, a lot of people that I let down. And, I was seriously entertaining the thought of pulling out my 357 Magnum revolver and literally shooting myself under the chin. Yeah. And I had planned the entire thing out. I visualized it. And honestly, like it's one of those things, like just talking about it right now, kind of like, it makes me like a little emotional. I realized at that point that the only thing that I could do is just focus on what I could control. Yeah. And honestly, I did everything I could to get, as many like character testimonials and stuff, and just basically put out as much good energy as possible. And I said, I have to face this. Yeah, I was like, I've been 100%. And like worst case scenario, I go to prison. I know in my heart that I did everything I could to not let these people down. Everything else that in my control, I seized the opportunity to try to create the most positive outcome. So the day I had to go to court, I will never forget walking up to the courtroom. As I approached the courtroom, as you can imagine, every step you're getting closer and closer to your fate. And it was like I just had tunnel vision, so many things going on through my mind, so many emotions, just so much. Yeah. And as I got, I would say about 15 yards from the courtroom, I noticed, there was kind of like a crowd like outside the courtroom. There seemed to be like a lot of people in the hallway of the courtroom. And as I approached, I started seeing faces that I recognized. And there's about 100 people that had showed up that day. Wow. Just to support me. Shit. So that, honestly, like... That goes to the testament of your character, though, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? At that whatever point in time, it was. Like how many people you helped, how many people looked up to you, or how many friends that you actually had that would ride or die, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and honestly, that right there, that was like to this day, it was one of the best feelings that I've experienced the time that I've been on Earth, and it just meant so much to me to see some of these people there and to see them smiling and to see them just to see them. That point you're in something extremely uncertain, extremely stressful, and that it's on regardless. But you got to go, and just having them there, that energy just made me stand up a little straighter, made me hold my head a little higher. Yeah. And, walked in the courtroom and just in a shocking turn of events, the judge asked my attorneys if she could address me in front of the court. They obviously said yes. And I'm thinking like, all right, here we go. And she basically starts reading off my charges one by one. And then, they also go over the possible penalty or the sentence for each. And it's like just a lot of years. And in my head, I'm trying to do the math, like, holy shit, yeah. And again, I have all these people behind me now in the courtroom. They couldn't even let everybody in that wanted to get in. And I'm just trying to just to be a man. I'm trying to sit there and take it. I mean, really, I wanted to like go under the bench in the fetal position. Yeah. But basically, she went through everything and she said to me, she's like, Mr. Cavallini, there's a few things I'd like to say before we, move on to sentencing. And, in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, here comes the lecture. Here comes the finger pointing, finger waving. Yeah. And this woman basically said that, she had reviewed my mitigation packet, read every single character letter that was sent on my behalf. She was very familiar with me. She was very aware of the things, the community involvement, the ties to the community, the things that I've done with my business, the employees that I've helped. And she basically said that, 20 plus years in the bench. She'd been doing it a long time. She had never seen someone do what I had done and essentially turn my life around on my own accord. She said that the purpose of prison, the reason the state sends people to prison and the goal of prison is rehabilitation. And she said that in her opinion, she had felt that I'd done that on my own. And honestly, you talk about like one of the most unexpected things that you would ever expect to hear in a certain setting. And she said to me, Mr. Cavallini, you should be very proud of yourself and what you've done. And I mean, I got like super emotional at that point. It was
the exact opposite.
Dude, 100%.
Like on your radar.
No. And basically, again, just a shocking turn of events. She ended up sentencing me to probation, which was the absolute minimum sentence that I could have got in that regard. And it was from that day forward that I realized, and I just took on the hard mindset and perspective that I was on borrowed time. I was given a second chance. I was given an opportunity. I was given something that most people aren't. And I realized that I had a very specific, very strict responsibility to take full advantage of every second of every day going forward.
Yeah. Did that fuel you? Like
1,000%.
You probably just fucking.
I mean, like to this day, it still does, and I still think about that when I need to like go there. I'm trying to get myself there. I mean,
Well, this is where I came from. I was actually watching. I'll have to send you the video after, but people should look it up on YouTube or something. It's The Rock goes and speaks to the Lakers team, and he says he's like before the big moment happens, whether it was WrestleMania doing a wrestling match, whether because he was like one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah.
As a little kid, and like he said, before I do the wrestling match, before I go do anything like fucking the movie, the speaking gig, or go help the Wounded Warriors because he does that too, like his Project Rock campaign, all that. And he's like, I think of when I had barely $7 in my pocket, and my dad picked me up from where he went to college. He busted his knee. He's never going to play in the NFL again. He dropped out of college. Like, fuck, life is fucked. And he's like, I think about that drive on that moment where I could have gave up and I wanted to do that, kill himself. And he's like, I use that as fuel every time I walk into a meeting, before the big shoot on the movie, before the big scene, whatever it is. He's like, that's kind of what you do too.
Yeah.
And like Kobe Bryant says some of the same things. Like some of the greatest people use the most pain to use that to get in that zone.
Well, it's perspective.
It's
So yeah, like at that point, that process had taken a lot of energy out of me. That process had taken a lot. I mean, it had taken a lot of my focus. So my business wasn't in a really good place.
Yeah.
So that fuel at that time and that perspective, it was the right time for it, because I had to. I mean, literally, like I didn't really have time to kind of sit around and like feel good about the fact that I wasn't going to prison. I mean, I had to fix my business because my business was in the critical danger zone. So I had to go out there and I had to make some shit happen. And, there was a lot of things that were really, really fucked up, a lot of problems that we had. And it was very overwhelming. So it wasn't like I went from this really hard, painful place and period of my life to like, this everything's perfect and kosher. It was like basically the same circumstances, but the penalty wasn't prison. It would be, me losing my business and having to shut the doors. So, like it fueled me, it drive me, and it still does to this day. And it's like there's the whole fear of just like going backwards, the whole fear of just going back to, I was arrested 17 times prior to my 18th birthday. You know what I mean? Like I've,
It's a mic for questions, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So like, at different points in my life, like I've stolen dirty clothes out of the lost and found at school. Like, so I'd have new clothes to wear.
Yeah.
I remember, most days, like in middle school, like not eating lunch because I was too embarrassed to stand in the line that the kids who got free lunch had to stand in. I didn't want anybody to see. Like, so I remember those feelings. I remember like, just feeling like insignificant, worthless, and being looked down upon. And honestly, life is hard.
Yeah.
You know, we get to choose the type of pain that we have in life, because you will have pain 100%.
So we make decisions. Like I read something the other day, which you might take some value out of it, is we make decisions to either avoid pain or to get pleasure.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, you know, in life that we're all going to experience pain.
Yeah.
It will either be the pain of discipline or the pain of disappointment.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can either do the things that you need to do, the things that you're supposed to do, the things that don't always feel very good,
Yeah.
or don't.
Yeah.
And you will live a lifetime full of disappointment, falling short, struggling, you know, to pay your bills, struggling with your weight, struggling with your health, struggling with your relationships. I mean, literally, we have the opportunity to choose which one.
Yeah.
I mean, I say choose the path of discipline and get the most out of the one time that you have on this planet.
Yeah. For me, the hardest, like, for me was like, I don't know, for you, like personal relationships.
Mhm.
With, I don't know, have you ever had like, you know, where you're like, fuck, like somebody's holding you back in life, whether if it's a friend or a girlfriend that you had in the past. Like, have you ever had that where it's like, fuck, and then like, how did you deal with it? What did you do? Because that to me it used to be the biggest struggle for me.
Did you? So, are you saying that in the time, in the moment, in the relationship, you were aware of that, or was it once it was removed, you had that hindsight perspective?
Like when you're in the moment, like you know, I hear because one of the biggest things I hear is like, oh, my friend doesn't support me, or the main thing was for me, but I also heard from other people. Now I hear from other people, but it was the same thing that happened to me. Was like you're in a relationship with somebody and they don't support you, or they're just not like your partner, or they're just like, you know, they're like you're trying to, you
Right.
got to work till 9
Yep.
because you want them to have a good life, but you're trying to set up this life where one day you can take a step back. One day you can go on your private jet. One day you could go on vacations whenever you want. You know, one day you can take your kid to school every day and not have to go to work every day, right? Like that's essentially the life that I think everyone's trying to achieve.
Sure.
Not everybody, but you know, the people that really
Sure.
go down the entrepreneur
The people
route.
that are listening to this.
Yeah, and the people that are listening to this, but the people that are going down the entrepreneur route where they're like, you know what, I want to build something to provide so much value and give back to so many people that one day that legacy could live on into at least maybe I can give it to my kids,
Yeah.
right? So how do you fight against that?
So here's the thing. When you're out there trying to make some sort of positive change in your life, trying to create a better life for yourself, that's great. And one would think in that situation, the people closest to you, your friends, your family, like your spouse, whatever, your mom, your dad,
Yeah.
one would fucking think that they would support you, that they would encourage you, that they would do everything in their power to lift you up and try to push you closer to that result. But that's not what happens, is it?
No.
What happens is when you're out there doing the things that you need to do to improve on any area of your life, these people who essentially have gotten used to and comfortable seeing you a certain way, right there with them on their level, they start to get a little uncomfortable. They start to get a little unnerved. They start to get a little nervous for whatever reason. And that reason has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with them not wanting you to succeed. It has nothing to do with them not wanting you to fucking win. It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that you taking action to make your life better puts the spotlight on them, metaphorically speaking, on the fact that they are not. It is that. It is nothing but that. And honestly, when, not if that happens, if you're out there doing what you need to do, it's going to fucking happen. And it's usually the people that have known you the longest, the people that are closest to you. So deal with it. Okay, that's normal. Instead of like, you know, getting so discouraged and stressed and frustrated and like going and asking, well, this person, why doesn't this person, like, dude, no, stop wasting time, stop wasting energy on that shit. Change of perspective. If that happens, look at that as validation that you're on the right path. Look at it as validation that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And this is an organic, positive consequence of you doing the things that you need to do. And hopefully, one day, your actions will inspire and uplift them to you know, possibly start making some positive changes of their own. But just realize that not only have you just been given validation that you're doing the right things, but this person dropping off and falling out of your life has now freed up 5, 6, 7, maybe even 12% of the energy that you have to deploy on a more productive outlet. So be grateful for those things. Keep that in mind and stay the fucking course. Too many people worry about why this person is, oh, they're trying to hold me back. Dude, shut up. Like, stop fucking whining. That's normal. That happens to everybody. And I know it sucks, but you can decide to either like stop doing the shit that you're doing and make them feel better about their miserable, mediocre, or most commonly shitty life, or you can stick to your goals, keep putting in the fucking work, and get where you want to be and create the life that you're looking to create for yourself. I mean, those are really the only two options as far as I see it.
Yeah, dude. I want to say thanks for coming. Number one.
Yeah,
on this, because that was fucking, this whole fucking thing was pretty much fire.
Right on.
And I can't wait to like put it out there and see what people say. But
we'll have to do it again.
No, for sure. I feel like this could be part 2, 3, 4, like just forever, you know. And I want to like before we get offline,
Yep.
I wanted you to like kind of, so people know about you
Mhm.
and you know about all the things that you've done. What's something? Obviously, you want to grow your business. So aside from the business side, you want to grow your company more and you know help everyone there, because it's also amazing what you do with hiring ex-convicts and helping them, and doing that aspect of hiring them, bringing them in, and almost giving them tools to succeed not only in the business side of life and their career, but like on the personal side.
Yes.
But I also I want you to talk about like in your personal life, where do you see yourself? Like, what's something where you're like, you know what, either you haven't accomplished yet, or you're kind of like, you know what, I would like to be there, like, you know, or I would like to do what? Maybe it's starting a family, maybe it's
And honestly, that is what it would be.
Yeah.
You know, I squandered my 20s, so to speak, as being a degenerate, right? Selling drugs, partying, you know, just living a life that really is like not consistent with the person I am now or the person I'm trying to become. When I started my business, again, I had no business experience, no like education other than the self-education and you know, the school of hard knocks, as it were. But it's been tough. I mean, there's been a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I mean, there have been periods of my life where like I was just like by 9:06 a.m. in the morning, I was like on the floor, like physically drained and exhausted because all my energy for the day had already been just sucked out of my bones. So there really hasn't been, I don't want to say the time, but like the energy to commit into developing the kind of relationship that one would need to inevitably, start a family. One thing that's really important to me and that I plan on doing is I want to adopt, man. I spent some time in foster care. I spent a lot of time in group homes at different points of my life. And I feel that just with my background, with my, the way my thinking is set up, I think, taking in a, 7, 8, 9-year-old, that may have had a little rough, has been through some shit. I think that I have an obligation there. I think I have a responsibility to do that. To
you can't control what circumstances you're born in.
Right.
That's one thing you can't, but you could definitely control
I agree.
getting out of it.
Yeah. So that's something I want to do, and I do want to start a family. I look forward to starting a family, and that, to your point, I understand why you're asking this, because there's always something, right? Like people who are doing like I'm not gonna sit here and be like overly humble and act like I have a lot of good things going for me. I have a lot of positive uh, things happening in my life right now. My business is good. I have an awesome team. My fitness is on point. I have other opportunities that are presenting themselves now. As far as my speaking is concerned, my personal brand is growing. So there's a lot of good things, like on the surface to the outsider looking in. But regardless of who we're talking about, regardless how amazing somebody's life might look like via their social media news feed, or the way that they portray it to be, like everybody has areas that they're not happy with in their life. Everybody has areas that they need to work on, and everybody has goes through periods of time where they're depressed, anxious, whatever. Everybody will have feel depressed. Everybody will, feel anxiety. Not everybody suffers from depression or anxiety. It's a different thing. So like, yeah, man, there's obviously a lot of things that I need to improve on, not just with, what I just said, but like even the areas that on paper are going good. I mean, there's no shortage of areas of my business that I need to get better in. There's no shortage of areas, with my personal brand that I need to get a little more focused and structured and disciplined with. And it's something that like I realize it's always going to be like that. It's always going to be like, okay, these three things are going good, this thing's not so good, this thing's really fucked up, so let's handle that first and go. And that's just, when you're out there, you're playing to win, when you're trying to like just constantly grow and just constantly improve and constantly get better, which that's my whole thing. I mean, like I'm always looking for areas to improve in, and I've realized that is the way that I'm able to earn the right to feel good about myself. Everybody's looking for that thing, that little secret. You gotta fucking earn it.
You can't fucking do nothing and feel good
No,
by yourself.
no,
And expect to feel good.
no, you don't deserve to feel good. If you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do, you don't deserve to feel good. And that might sound harsh. That's just the reality, though. Like I wish I could say, all right, you deserve to feel good, and then have that be like the thing that makes you feel good. But it's not, and it won't be. I mean, if you want to feel good about yourself, you have to earn it, and the way you earn it is by seeking out discomfort. You feel good about yourself when you make progress. The way you make progress is by doing things that like don't necessarily feel good, or eating things that don't always like taste the best.
Yeah.
But I believe that it comes down to discipline, and
100%.
so self-discipline is, I think, the foundation of all things success in life, and it starts the most smallest, the smallest fucking things,
100%.
man.
People say how do you get the motivation to do this or do that? I said, look, man, I don't. But one thing is this: you're never going to feel motivated to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But I always say this: you set a time, right? It's like they set a time. If they told you, hey, come to work when you're motivated, ain't no one going to be here. But if they said they give you the discipline by giving you the hours, right? So I used to go, hey, at 7 p.m. every day, no matter how I feel, no matter if it's like shit, no matter if I don't want to, that's the time I'm putting in the work to go to the gym for an hour.
Yeah.
7 p.m. I don't care what you feel like. It's easy to go when you're motivated.
Totally. And it's like, just for people that might just be getting started or haven't looking for a way to get started and don't know where to start. Like I realize, like hearing somebody like me talk and share these stories, and where I'm at now compared to where some people listening might be, it's like it could be overwhelming trying to picture the things and the action steps needed to kind of bridge that gap. Start with your fitness. Honestly, start with your fitness. Start eating better. Start working out more. Hopefully you're working out, okay? If you're already working out, work out more. Go harder when you're in there. Do shit that you don't normally do. Go pick up some battle ropes. Go, do burpees. Grab a sledgehammer. Do the hard shit. Do the hard shit. Seek out opportunities for discomfort, and I promise you, not only will you get better, physically, for being physically fit, but you're going to not only feel better, like you're conditioning yourself and conditioning your psychology for navigating through uncomfortable situations proactively, and that is how you get ahead in life, is by learning how to do that on a consistent basis. And fitness provides a very simple opportunity and outlet to begin to make that part of your routine.
Yeah, and it's funny because you said you listened to Tony Robbins, so did I. I remember him saying,
I still listen to him.
Yeah, I still do too. And he said something where I remember it was like probably one of his YouTube videos I watched 2 years ago, and it kind of stuck with me too. Was if the hardest thing you got to do in the morning is get up early and work out, and you get it done,
man,
the rest of your day's gonna be easy.
Totally,
it's gonna be easy.
Yeah.
And dude, fucking sick. Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you for having me.
This shit can go for 6 hours.
Yeah, we'll save it for the next one.
Yeah, and everyone, please go check out his company, Nutrition Solutions. I'm gonna make sure that everyone fucking checks it out. I'm personally gonna get stuff because I was, it's getting stuff from other guys.
Sure.
I'm not gonna say their names, but the shit wasn't as good as they claimed it to be, which is cool. You gotta go through your trial and error.
I'm sure they're doing just that.
But everyone, go check out Nutrition Solutions. I'm gonna make sure that everyone that listens here gets the info to go check you out. And dude, I want to do part 2 for sure.
Yeah, let's do it soon.
Yeah.
Right on.
Brother.
Thank you.